Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
My dear friends, welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm so happy to have you with us today. Now, near-death experiences, as you know, are kind of a bête noire for me because they become a problem for all of us, actually, simply because they confuse so many people. They can feel so extraordinary that some people who have them, not our guests today, of course, but some people think, oh my goodness, they must have died and come back to life. And IANS, the International Association for Near-Death Studies, used to police that pretty well, but many people now who go to their conferences will just swear that they died, they came back to life, no question. Now, the one problem with that, of course, is that what really defines death is the cutting of the silver cord, which ties our astral body to our physical body. And once that's gone, that physical body connection to our astral body, you can't reattach it. So in fact, death is always a one-way trip. Now, what I love about so many people who have had these experiences, and especially our dear, dear guest today, is that when you do have a near-death experience, it very often will transform your life in very healthy ways. Now, our guest today had his near-death experience when he was only a child. Actually, he was 3 years old. Our wonderful guest is Jacob Cooper. And of course, he's gone a long time since that first experience, and yet it did change his life in many ways. And he's going to talk about that with us. This is here his sixth visit with us. We have talked with him before about it. And he's going to talk about the book that he wrote after that, Life After Breath. And his second book was called The Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder, which talks about many further extraordinary spiritual experiences he's had. And of course, once you've had a major spiritual experience, as I had at 8, you aren't afraid of them anymore because you understand how wonderful and transformative they are. And you understand that they're nothing to fear. They're only really objects of joy, objects of delight. Now, they've become, in recent years, they have become something that we talk about a lot more. But I think that Jacob's experiences really were special. I think that they have given him a life, which is really special. And I'd love to have him talk more about it. So let's welcome him now. Jacob, thank you so much for being here with us today again.
Oh, thank you so much, Roberta. An honor to be on your program for the sixth time. Wow, it's just time flies, you know.
We've
It-
gotten into some deep topics actually together,
yeah,
um, which has been fun. But I want to sort of keep it a bit light. We're kind of in the holiday season.
yeah.
This is Hanukkah right now, and we'll soon have Christmas, and it's kind of a downtime. So I'd kind of like to be lighthearted and joyful about all of this. And I first want to hear about what you've been up to, because you must be doing a lot of things lately.
A lot of cool things. Well, I just started my newsletter it took me quite some time to do that. And the reason is I love the concept of community and building a community. More and more people are just feeling a little bit fragmented and isolated. And so
Yeah.
that was really what Spirit was calling me. I know you mentioned earlier in the program, that I had, these profound spiritual experiences, and they were great. But what I would say is epiphanies or spiritual experiences by themselves don't necessarily change a person, but what you do with them, what you learn with them, I do believe can. And really, each and every day is another opportunity to be of service, which to me is the most
Yeah.
expansive act that you can have. And this is coming from someone who's been to pretty high out there places in the dimensions. But when I say service, I mean reminding people who they really are. how special they truly are. And just being that gentle tap on their shoulder to remind people that they are so much more than how they perceive themselves, or maybe how others perceive them. And so right now, I guess what I'm up to is just being that guy to just remind people how sacred and special they are and to create community. Because when you think of heaven, you think of oneness, you think of interconnectivity, you think of transparency, you think of love. And I say, why wait until your last breath to have that? Why not cultivate that awareness in this body, in this lifetime? And that's what I'm trying to do for myself, for the people around me, and just to create a plane where people are creating their own heaven here on this earth, you know?
So you're creating groups and sort of hosting groups then?
I'm trying, yeah, I'm doing a lot of different programming, these days, certainly doing a lot of different workshops. I do work very closely with grief-based organizations, and we try not to refer them to them as that, because there is a degree of stigma. I ran across a quote that says that it was by Rumi that death is only seen by the eyes, but the soul and the heart knows no death, knows no goodbyes.
Right.
It's only hello to new beginnings. And certainly with a lot of the organizations that I work with, they do believe in, yes, honoring the emotions, the feelings, all those things are very pivotal in one's grief journey, and also the transformation that it could have, where, having loss of a loved one can allow us to reevaluate our value systems and to ask some of those bigger existential questions that we might have put on the back burner, prior to that experience. So, yeah, I mean, I try to really allow people to understand what was lost can be found if you really understand that the body isn't all that there is, and that the love that you have, love that you are, continues to have a dynamic in relationship. They're always talking, they're always listening. We have to just be able to listen and talk to them too and continue that relationship.
So these grief groups that you would hold
Mhm,
would encourage people to talk openly with their loved ones, would
mhm. Or
encourage
the
personal
or
communication.
yeah, the organizations that I'm a part of invite afterlife phenomena, into grief journeys.
Mhm.
One particular organization that I've spoken with in the past couple times is called the Forever Family Foundation, which is just
Yes.
featured on Netflix's Surviving Death. And the co-founder, who I absolutely love, who's on the cover of who wrote the foreword of The Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder, had his daughter, tragically transitioned and due to a motor vehicle incident. And so he went to this grief group with his wife, who has since transitioned, and people were banned from talking about their signs and symbols and communication with loved ones. But what was happening was they were meeting in the parking lot, and everyone was talking about what was going on. And he said, well, instead of just meeting in a parking lot, why don't we meet in a building and start something?
Cup of coffee, for heaven's sake.
And that's how my friend Bob Ginsberg started the Forever Family Foundation. And helping parents heal is something that I work very closely with. Works in a similar,
Hmm.
function where they have evidence-based mediums, people who work, in terms of the parapsychology, scientific department that we could get into. And it's just great. Now, in terms of people's viewpoints of the afterlife, nothing is, we don't demand anything of everyone. We just provide suggestions. And much like yourself, you'd appreciate this. The way that I view people's awareness of the afterlife is much of that, in terms of a legal point of view. It's building up a case of eternity. And that I honor each person's subjective journey, to making their own conclusions. And so that I think there's a dichotomy between dogma and spirituality right then and there, where it's not forced. You don't have to follow all these steps. you do what makes sense and what is comfortable based on your level of understanding. And that's a very liberating and comforting. And I think it leads to growth, which is really honoring where you are at. Not where I'm at, not where someone else is at. Where are you at? I think that's a beautiful journey. It starts right at that, step, right at that position.
And if you give people the freedom to be at a place in that line that
Hmm.
is the journey,
Hmm.
so they don't have to be better now.
Hmm.
They can be worse now, and that's okay. That's normal. If people can feel that way, it feels that the way they are is healthy wherever they are,
Hmm.
that frees them so much. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel guilty. All the feelings you have are legitimate feelings.
Oh, absolutely. And Roberta, it is so perfect that you're saying this now more than ever, because, working in the mental health field, I do see the impact that the holidays can have. Substance abuse tends to go up dramatically. Incidences of mental health, acuity and crises also can go up as well. And I do believe that's based on the societal pressures to feel a certain way during this time.
Right.
And I say to people all the time, the greatest holiday that you can have is to honor where you're at,
That's
is
right.
to celebrate and honor wherever that is that you are on your journey. And I also think it's important to just be very, uh, to not dishonor, if that makes sense, and to not try to bypass or try to compare what other people around you are doing, particularly nowadays with social media. Just celebrate it the way that it makes sense to you. If that means sitting this out, that's okay. Honor
Right.
that, you know?
It means going to a movie then that rather than
Yeah.
doing anything about Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever your holiday is, that's okay.
Yeah.
You can do what you like. And so many people feel guilty. There is survivor guilt, which is tremendous. And we must forgive ourselves
Mhm.
for surviving. We must forgive ourselves for not having told that person not to get in the car, not having,
Mhm.
kept something from happening, which in fact we could probably not have prevented anyway.
Mhm.
Our exit point is something that we choose,
Mhm.
and if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But people, so many people have survivor guilt and have pain
Mhm.
about the fact that they didn't prevent something.
Mhm.
And I used to counsel people about this, and then walk them through self-forgiveness over it.
Mhm.
And that is something which I think needs to be done for
Mhm.
almost everyone,
Mhm.
because that grief, part of almost everyone's grief is an element of their guilt at having survived the person that they loved so much.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think guilt is interesting because every culture seems to have a dominance over it. There's Jewish guilt, there's Italian guilt, there's this guilt, but everyone seems to like have a monopolization over
Right.
guilt.
They got
So
their special kind of guilt there, right?
certainly there's some kernels of truth where I do believe there's a nurture element to it. But I do believe guilt also has a mechanism of control or lack thereof, where you feel that it's almost kind of like you're feeling like you could control in some way or influence, inevitabilities, or you're taking responsibility. And once you understand the spiritual path, you understand that it's a matter of letting go. And that doesn't mean giving up your power. That means surrendering your power to allow the unfoldment of things as they were intended and to trust, that things work themselves out.
Yeah,
I know earlier on, before we recorded you, and this is certainly going to be something that we discuss, which is speaking about scientists and their intersectionality and spirituality. There's one particular, guy, I mean, probably the biggest scientists in modern day times, a man by the name of Albert Einstein, who escaped World War II, came to the States. But he has a quote, he has so many quotes that I love, but almost when you listen to
Right.
Einstein, he sounds like Wayne Dyer almost. He sounds like a spiritual guru in some of his statements.
Right.
But he said, and which I think is helpful for people in dealing with, these control mechanisms that guilt could manifest itself is. He said, is the universe a loving place, an ambivalent place, or a place that is working against you? And I'm paraphrasing here,
Uh-huh.
but that all leads to what spirituality is about trust and understanding our core beliefs and how those influence the lives that we live.
Yes.
And recognizing if our beliefs and our values have a big gap with how we behave and how we act, or if there's congruency. And I think it's very important for each person to, if they don't like their lives, I say visit your values, visit your beliefs. And are you honoring and holding true to those beliefs and values? Are you living with a gap, in between those? Usually when we're in flow, it's when
Yeah,
we are honoring our beliefs and values.
that is very profound, but Einstein was profound and quite
Uh,
spiritual too. Most people don't understand that.
Yeah, yeah, they just kind of associate this guy just in a lab, but he was
Yeah,
just so ahead of his time. I think astrologically, what was he, a Pisces or something like that? But he was very much just when you listen to his words now almost 100 years ago, they sound innovative even for today.
right.
And it's remarkable when I listen to people like him or Carl Jung or some of these types of
Yes,
people. I'm just like, these are people who did not come from this earth to me. They were on this earth, but not of it. They were very much tuned into a greater frequency, if you will.
that's right. That's so true. So what you bring these groups together and get them talking, get them to
Mhm.
how do you encourage them to do that?
I don't. I think it's just kind of like that Nirvana song where it's just, it's a song called Come As You Are. Within the power of group, sometimes people could engage and sometimes people could just watch. But I believe the Yogi Berra quote that you can learn most things from just watching, just observing. That's very mindful. It's very kind of Buddhist-y. And so, within the groups that I run throughout the years, some people engage. Some people just sit there, but doesn't mean that they're not there. If you ever watched, the show when I was a kid, it was kind of big called Winnie the Pooh.
Hmm.
There's a character called Eeyore who had
You wrote the
now
donkey, yeah.
Eeyore, right? And now it's just kind of outdated, but it's a term called dysthymia or just kind of this, mild to chronic depression. But
Yeah.
Eeyore was still ingratiated with the other characters in the show, and he was still a part, of the characters, despite however he felt. And that's what really life is about. You just come as you are, and the right people will love you for who you are unconditionally. The right people won't expect you to move your needle or to change. They'll love you just where your feet are at. And that's really what the holiday is about, finding the people who love you for where you're at, not where they want you to be at, not where they want you to move, but loving you for where you're at. That to me is divine love. That is a godly love that
Yeah.
everyone should not settle for. We should demand that.
Well, I think the fact that people have shown up shows that they want to be there.
Yeah,
If they open their mouths or not doesn't indicate whether they want to be there. The fact that they're there
yeah,
is what's key.
yeah. There's many stages to the change process, but the first step, half the ball games, as you said,
Showing
is
up.
just showing up, is just being there. That's half the ball game. That's more than half the work. So yeah, I've been doing that as well as something pretty cool as of late. And I don't know your thoughts on this at all. But it's called Between Lives Soul Regression Therapy.
Hmm.
And, that was really mainstreamed by an individual named Dr. Michael Newton, who
Uh-huh.
wrote the book Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls.
Oh, sure, I'm very
And
familiar with that.
I was certified in this by a clinical psychologist by the name of Dr. Linda Backman, who lives out in Colorado, and she trained and worked with, Michael. Uh, to me, why I love this type of work is similarly to what drew Michael to it. A client came to him and he was doing just traditional hypnotherapy, and he just asked the client to go to the source of,
I remember this movie. Yeah.
what they were dealing with. And little did he know, he was not like much like Brian Weiss. He wasn't like a total believer in this stuff, but they went directly to source energy and to the source of what they were going through. And during that time, they met with what is referred to in Michael's work as a soul pod. They met with other members of their soul tribe, and they just had this degree of recollection of themselves before this lifetime, which again really works well with Einstein's, statement that I said. Is life random? Is life planned,
Hmm.
and charted and guided, or is it ambivalent? And what Michael has found and what I've found in these regressions is that life is not random, that there indeed is a blueprint, a planning phase that we have in choosing the life that we're living.
It's
Um,
always true. It turns out
which,
that that's always true.
yeah, it's fascinating. And what's some of the biggest questions that people have, which is, who am I? Why am I here? What's my life's purpose? And what happens when I die, when the body goes? And BLSR, between life soul regression, it's been fascinating to see those questions really entertained on such a deep level and what people are able to come out with it afterwards. And so
Yeah, no,
the
I think that's great.
yeah,
That's a great kind of therapy.
modality, yeah. And there's a chance all of this could be made up or imagination or not real. I don't think so. But even if that's the case, you see these transformations in this life from a lot of these sessions. And so I'll hold my hat on just that alone as something positive.
Very positive. Do you do this work for people?
Yes, I do it in individual sessions. I
Mhm.
also am going to be starting it in small groups, which not every practitioner really endorses, but I'm a guy who I believe in something is better than nothing in a way, and getting this out as much as we can. And I do believe the power of group. And so, yes, there's a lot more perhaps nuance that could happen from individualized sessions and one-on-ones, but there is certainly a lot of awakenings and breakthroughs that could happen in a group-based, course, a group-based BLSR rather. So it's really cool. And at the very least, whether it's PLSR, past life soul regression, BLSR, between life soul regression, at the very least, people come back remembering that they don't die and that they're more than these bodies from visiting their own memories that they have. And memory is that great gift that allows us to really, I think that's really what draws us into this stuff, because there's some part of us, there's some voice that remembers that we are more than just this. And that memory keeps us alive, keeps us going, keeps us growing.
And at the base, all of it is love.
Yeah.
What I think what keeps us doing this sort of thing, this sort of investigation and growth, is the fact that the closer we get to source, the more powerfully we feel the love. And
Yeah.
that is, frankly, that's what keeps me doing this work.
Mhm.
I mean, if you found there was a negative element, if you found there was a Satan and you were fighting with that or whatever, I think you wouldn't be as cool to do this.
It's interesting for whatever reason, algorithms on, let's say, YouTube, if I were to make a show about demonic hell, God forbid, or something like that, that would get a ton of views. But if I talk about love, No, people don't pay attention to that. And that's just how we're unfortunately wired in this life, where the brain is just drawn to like the negative or the fear bait or the fear mongering. Like for instance, even I catch myself sometimes like this, where I'll do a presentation, I'll get 50 good emails, and one email will have someone a little bit disgruntled. My mind will just focus on that one email. And I have to catch myself. And I'm like, dude, practice what you preach. The quality of your life becomes the quality of your focus. And we have the ability to rewrite our lives by rewriting the narratives in our brain and getting, more habituated to think like God, which is to think expansively, to think with love. And yes, the shadow does come up, but how do we engage with that? Is it more fear towards the darkness or more darkness with darkness? MLK said that famously. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Hatred cannot drive out hatred. Only love can do that.
Only love
So,
can do that.
yeah, yeah,
And the thing about yeah, there are some people who are very focused on negativity.
yeah.
And I get that that's true.
Mhm,
But especially as people grow older, they become less and less focused on negativity
mhm,
because we want to know that the universe is basically good, that God is
mhm,
basically good, that there isn't negativity waiting for us
mhm,
because that becomes frightening.
mhm.
And we don't want to be frightened, I don't think.
Oh, sure. And I mean, as a therapist, I use a lot of my mental health modalities when it comes to, spirituality and growth. But for instance, there's, one evidence-based practice that I used, which really um, is about values, goals, and areas that you want to really improvise in your life. And so that's called acceptance and commitment therapy that I use with a lot of my clients, which is different than cognitive behavioral therapy, which is more just about changing thoughts. Acceptance and commitment therapy is very much more broad out. It's not necessarily about changing thoughts, but about diffusing thoughts that aren't productive, that are maladaptive. They may be justifiable, but they're not productive to your goals. So I always give this example. Let's say you want a beautiful relationship. You want to be on Love Island, but there's all these monsters in the island that are taking you away from that. So are you going to listen to that? Are you going to focus on what you want, the reality, what you want to create? Because if you listen to those voices, it's going to take you away from Love Island and you're not going to have a pleasant experience. And so I think it comes back to really our intentions, especially as we're starting the new year. What are our intentions? What are our goals? What do we want to create? That's the God seed on all of us, that we all have the ability to manifest, to create the life that we're living. But a lot of it comes down to worth, value, self-esteem. And a lot of people, once they get these things, they become imposters. They have imposter syndrome. They're like, this doesn't belong to me. Like, I don't deserve this. I'm just this. And
I
I
don't
think,
deserve this is a
yeah,
way to put your
right.
life.
Even if it's there, like we push it, a lot of people push it away or sabotage happiness because like, oh, that's for someone else. And I love what Wayne Dyer said. There's enough beauty and abundance of the eternal pie of divinity to go around. It's not in scarcity, and each person deserves their share. Each person needs to be nourished. The soul needs to be fed. It's not for someone else or some public figure or someone they put on a pedestal. No, we are so much more important than we have, and each person deserves that slice of abundance in their lives, and they're worthy. So of that.
That's great. And so this is the turn you're really taking is toward doing a lot of
Soul
counseling.
regression, yeah, a lot of soul regression type work which stretches some of the limitations that traditional, and I'm not going to discount the validity and the impact that talk therapy certainly has. I mean, I see a therapist of my own, and it's great. But I take the medical model where sometimes you'll go to, your regular, primary care physician for stuff, and then sometimes you might need to go to a surgeon or something a little bit more specific, or a podiatrist, a cardiologist, whatever have you.
Mhm.
And so that's the beauty of having an expanded network of services for clients to really go deeper and ultimately really engage in soul therapy, which is what I love, which people are able to address things beyond the thoughts, beyond the emotions, beyond the human narratives to go into the soul directly. And that's what these therapies can provide.
Yeah, I do like it's hard to know what to call it really, but the kind of therapy that takes people into deeper into the
Mhm,
planning that goes on in between lives, the sort of learning and awareness that goes on in
mhm,
between lives,
mhm,
which most people had never been aware of, that there was even such a thing.
mhm.
But it is truly interesting and it is truly enlightening what can go on between lives when we search more deeply
Mhm.
for understanding.
Oh, absolutely. And at the very least, I mentioned the epidemic of loneliness. What happens often with BLSR sessions is people start to remember that they're not alone, that they have a soul pod with them, that they have many times spirit guides with them or guardian angels. Believe it or not, not every soul that I regress has a spirit guide. Most do, but some their guides are their higher selves. Very rare. Those are very evolved, uh, just kind of niche level souls. Those are kind of post-doctorate evolutionary souls. But the majority of us have, one or two guides from my experience. I know I have two
Right.
guides. I am no post-doctorate student. I consider myself, a college undergrad, type
Yeah,
soul.
that's right.
Maybe getting into
Right.
grad. There's no better or worse. It's just kind of is. And the beauty of life is that each and every day is another opportunity to grow, to evolve, and to expand our nature of reality, seeking reality, what the genesis of your show is all about. But yes, that epidemic of loneliness tends to go away, and people understand that life is not a solo endeavor, that it's such a group effort, and everything that we're going through is a group energy. We're not just experiencing this alone. There's a lot of people guiding us, watching the movie of our lives. And so it's a collective effort, which kind of eases a lot of this epidemic of loneliness. And I think that's important, especially during the holiday seasons, now more than ever, to kind of hear.
Quite beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating work to say the least, and I do love it. But yeah, I mean, a lot of work that I'm doing now is helping people to just find safety, to be safe, and to find a home within themselves. Because ultimately, when we're depressed, when we're sad, we feel an unsettling feeling. And that's where spirituality infiltrates itself in mental health. I love what Louise Hay used to say, which is this beautiful, beautiful mantra that she said that all is well, I am safe, and out of this, only good will come from this. And if you start to say this over and over again, it goes to every cell of your body, every part of you, and you start to really get ingratiated with grace and flow, which is to me spirituality. It's all about flow. It's all about grace.
Right.
And,
And you start to live within that atmosphere. It's all around you. You don't
yeah,
allow anything else to enter it.
yeah, yeah. And you could start to pivot a lot easier. Like I remembered, like I don't remember much from my childhood, but like moments where I was really connected to the spirit realm came in. There was once a moment where I was like, there was principal with a megaphone, and he was talking to the whole school, and he said, anyone who's talking, I'm going to single them out. And I guess he accused me of talking. I just had a baseball glove by my name, by my mouth. but he shouted my name in front of the whole school.
Oh no.
And I had to walk the shame. I had the walk of shame in front of the whole school, and everyone's looking at me. In that moment, I just felt a sense of understanding that this isn't permanent. This isn't going to last forever. And I remembered what's real. What's real is eternal. There's a beautiful quote by an Indian mystic that says, what is real never changes, and what changes is never real. And to me, the only thing that is real is love. And in that moment, all right, maybe a couple kids will talk about it, whatever, but I just knew like it would pass. And I had no reaction. The principal met with me and I was just smiling. I was cool. I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. And he was
Yeah.
expecting me to like go at him and be angry at him. And I was just like, okay. And I'm giving this example for people to utilize in their lives. Like we all could have these moments that shake us up, that could be triggering, that could be traumatic, whatever it is. And in that moment, just catch yourself, give yourself a hug, and trust that whatever it is you're going through, however good, however bad, it's always changing. Life is always changing. But what is real? What is real is the experiences that we have, the relationships that we build, the impact that we have on another. Those are the things that last, that no amount of money could ever buy. And I say the afterlife is just a collection of all the things that money can never purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Andy Sum.
Yeah.
And to what you were speaking of a few minutes ago, the according to Course in Miracles, nothing unreal,
Yep.
no, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing
Nothing.
unreal exists.
Yeah.
Therein lies the peace of God.
Ah, beautiful. Is
That's
it?
it.
Yeah. It's amazing how some people will say ACAM is this and this is that. But to me, when you're tuned in, we're all tuned into the same stuff and we're all
Right. That's
kind of
right.
saying the same things, maybe with slightly different alterations. But truth is truth, and that is universal. So that's a beautiful statement that just, kind of evokes.
But it's so
I forget. Yeah,
comforting, dear. Nothing
yeah.
real can be threatened.
Oh, sure.
Nothing unreal exists.
It's
Oh,
like, it's absolutely beautiful. And of course, the miracles has been such a game changer for so many people
that's
because
right.
um, it really evoked spirituality with practicality in
Hmm.
people's lives. Yeah, I do credit a lot of the work of Marianne Williamson, who was able to make it a lot more mainstreamed. Although, some people have pushback because, she has gotten, let's say, political. But I'm not gonna, I don't think anyone should have cognitive dissonance with the beautiful work that she's done, regardless of beliefs. And she has, quite a brilliant mind for certain, and a gift. She really, is a powerhouse of so much wisdom and impact on consciousness, and someone that I'm grateful for. At least she's really changed the world for sure.
There are a lot of beautiful people in the world who have had
Yeah,
so much to give and are continuing to give it. And I'm
yeah,
just very glad for them. I'm glad for
yeah.
them.
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of what I have been about, which is presence, uh, being able to uh, just kind of be the light. I think we come here for polarities where there is darkness. The soul has a desire to shine that light. And I think for ourselves, that's what we have to do. It's very Carl Jungian, where we all have this shadow that comes up. And how do we relate to that shadow? Do we bypass it or do we embrace it and see it as an opportunity to even have more lights to go to all those cracks of ourselves and the world around us? So, yeah.
That's lovely, dear. Well, we're coming near the end of our time. I just wondered, is there something you want people especially to take away from what we're saying today?
Well, there are so many avenues that we discussed, and I think that's the beauty of our conversation is there is something for everyone to take away. In any conversation and any workshop that I have, my goal is that people come to it with a certain degree of consciousness or emotional vibratory field, they may decide to maybe leave something behind, and hopefully they could take something, with themselves, moving forward. But if there's anything that I have to offer, it's really self-love. And I know that is, you know, kind of thrown out there a little bit too much, but when you practice it, and each person is unique. Each person has a different way of doing it. And it's important to not judge how you do that. At the very least, neurophysiologically, giving yourself a hug and just being present with yourself, especially in those moments you're not feeling okay, giving yourself that warm embrace, that warm hug, just allows you to have unconditional love towards yourself and not to be a fair weather fan of life. Life isn't just
Yeah,
um, loving yourself when it's good, nor is it a participation sport, nor is it rather, nor is it a spectator sport. It's a participation sport. And we all have an ability to really participate in expansion and spirituality and growth. And I know a lot of people complain about everything that's going on, but the beauty is we have so many tools and so much information to help navigate those pathways. And so I'd say there's many different channels, honoring those channels, right? But understanding, like I said before, the quality of your life becomes the quality of your focus. And I do believe the most important channel that could guide us is the spirit channel, and that's through love. That's really through love, and that's the pathway to really access the ultimate channel. And so, the more habituated we are to that spirit channel, the more that really allows ourselves to have these beautiful, illuminated lives that we're destined born to live.
I think that's beautifully said. Yeah, too seldom I think people just stop and think. It's in the Bible. Be still and know that I am God. God is over all, under all, and part
Mhm,
of all, and
mhm,
in each of us. And God loves us infinitely, so
mhm,
there's nothing to fear.
mhm,
And this is the place of fear. This is a place of negativity. We come here to experience the
mhm.
negativity so we can grow spiritually, and that's all.
Yeah.
But the love and
That's a beautiful, yes. And sometimes life could feel like a burden, but I love the biblical quote that says, so much is given, so much is required. And reminding yourself that life is indeed a gift. And that's one of the after effects that are commonly associated with near-death experiences is people are able to recognize that life it could be fragile. It should not be taken for granted. And you
never.
have to live while you live and yes, be a brothers and sisters keeper. So much is given, so much is required. And be of service, if anything else. If you're feeling down, be of service. That's the quickest way to really accelerate your energy and expand your energy. That's really the God embodiment, if you will, is to be of service without asking for anything in return. And just, yeah, what you give to another, you give
That's a
right back
very
to you.
special thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus said, let your left hand not know what your right hand is doing when you are
Mhm.
giving.
Yeah. Oh,
Giving
wow.
in secret.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing. If you
Mhm.
can make your giving in secret, do your things that you're doing
Mhm.
for other people without asking for anything
Mhm.
in return, there's a special joy in that.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of thing we're really trying to do.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jacob, this has been such a delight. It always is whenever you and I are talking. I always enjoy talking to you.
I was talking earlier. I said, I myself go to my acupuncture sessions, my healing sessions, but nothing's more healing than being with Roberta Grimes. Like that's my ultimate healing session and just having these beautiful conversations. And it's my hope that viewers really just basket in that as well too and join us in this collective healing because, that really makes me continue doing what I do is to have people to feel safe, to feel good inside, and to join each other in that feeling.
And there's a lot more about Jacob and his work in his website. And the link will be at the bottom of the explanation that's below this. So just go ahead there and look at that. And my dear beloved friends, we've come to the end of our time. And this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please understand Accept with joy the fact that you never began, you never will end. You are an eternal being. And when you get all the implications of that fact, it changes everything in your life for the better. Accept that fact with joy. And as my dear friend, who's our engineer, Sam, said, we're not really sure who's going to be our guest next week, but there are two wonderful possibilities. So please do join us. And either will be a wonderful sort of surprising guest. So join us and we'll find out together who it will be. And this week, oh my goodness, our guest has been our wonderful friend, Jacob Cooper, who's been with us for the 6th time. And he will be back again, of course, to talk with us again. Jacob is my very dear friend. He's had near-death experiences a couple of times and other interesting experiences, too, that he's talked with us in the past about. He's written a couple of books, Life After Breath, when he was very young, and also The Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder. But as you can hear, he talks fluently and beautifully about experiences that are spiritual. He's not afraid of delving deeply into those experiences, and he uses them now to counsel people to open up, to develop with joy, and to have ever better lives. And Jacob is just a great, beautiful soul. He's someone you want to talk to, and someone you want to listen to, someone you want to be part of and have part of in your life. As you have seen, everything in his life is beautiful now. And both of his books are wonderful, and they're full of revelations, so I urge them on you. I've read them both. Now, we also should say just for a minute here, too, that you ought to check out seekreality.com and our dear friend Craig Hogan, who helps that to be a wonderful website where you can learn everything possible about what the afterlife is. Many people think they know what the afterlife is, but both Craig and I have spent decades for doing the research, and we've put that information together for you there. You may think you know, but you can't know until you find out, based on evidence-based truth. And meanwhile, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy, please make the most of this coming week in our one reality, always knowing with confidence and with joy that you are a powerful, eternal being, and you in particular, most of all in this entire universe, you are infinitely, eternally, perfectly, and forever loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.